Sorry to wake you all up, but it's time to settle down now. Okay. We're going to start our session at 6:38. And we have an invocation. I don't see Pastor Dick here. Okay. Nancy, can we have you have a fill in for Pastor Dick?
Me?
Oh, no.
No.
The invocation. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the wonderful attendance at this meeting today. We thank you for our city council and for their deliberation over issues that are important to all of us. We thank you for our most beautiful city and all of the things that we get to do just because we live here. We thank you for our wonderful weather, and we thank you that we have the privilege of living here and enjoying everything that the city has to offer. May it continue. Amen.
Remain standing, and we'll have our flags. Nancy, now I'm going to call on you this time. Nancy Carroll, please.
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We need a roll call, please.
Councilmember Bonner.
Here.
Councilmember Aaron-Krantz.
Here.
Councilmember Haggerty.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Green.
Here.
Mayor Warren.
Here. Okay, can I get an approval of the city agenda, tonight's agenda?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved? Okay, now we move right on to special presentations. Now this may take a little while, but this is all very, very important to all of us. We're going to start with Larry.
What?
Oh, you know what? We skipped council chamber comments. I'm sorry. Chamber of Commerce comments. And it's, well, you were hiding behind a pole. Would you come up here and? Sorry about that.
That's all right. I appreciate you having us here. Good evening, everyone. I'm Matt Svensson. I'm president of the Canyon Lake Chamber of Commerce. I'm very proud to be here tonight, along with some of our directors, to represent our local heroes. Mayor Warren, city council members, thank you for allowing us to speak and talk about our chamber events that are upcoming this month. Thank you to Senator Stone for being here this evening. So, quickly happening tomorrow night, the chamber invites residents and businesses out to an informational presentation on the Canyon Lake Utility Users Tax. It's tomorrow night. It's at the Country Club in the Magnolia Room, which is downstairs. It starts at 6:30 p.m. So if you have any questions about Measure S, which is the UUT tax on the ballot, the Public Safety and Local Control Continuation is what it's going to be titled under, from what I understand. And that'll be on the November 6th ballot. So if you want to come out and get some information on that, please join us tomorrow night. Later in the month, on Tuesday, September 25th at 6:30 p.m., we will be hosting a Meet the Candidates that are running for the Canyon Lake City Council. It'll be here in this room, here at City Hall. Anyone wishing to ask a question of a candidate will fill out a form. They can put it into a basket. They'll be drawn randomly. And again, we'll do a round robin on it. The candidates will have 2 minutes for their opening and 3 minutes for their closing remarks and answering questions in between. A few days after that, we have our annual Oktoberfest. It's our 8th annual. It's coming up on September 29th between 4 and 9 p.m. here in the town center. Tickets and whatnot will be out in front of the post office of the Pack Rapid Post. We'll have featured music by the American Bavarian Brass Band, traditional German food, beer, wine, a kids zone again, carnival games, and lots of vendors. So last year we had a wonderful turnout. I think that we're going to have the same this year again. We'll have contests for stein holding, beer drinking, non-alcoholic, hot dog, and jalapeno eating contest. There's just a handful of non-vendor spots that are left available, so if you're interested, please contact Allison at the chamber. Coming into October, we're already planning for our 26th annual Parade of Frights, which is Saturday, October 27th. That starts at 9 a.m. here in the town center. Parade of Frights brings costume children into the town center for a trick or treat event through the businesses. We typically have more than 40 businesses participating using the chamber's treasure map. We also have draws. It usually brings in historically hundreds of children each year, draws from local communities around the area. It'll feature carnival games, costume contests, bounce house, music, and a special appearance by Thunder from the Storm Stadium. As far as Oktoberfest goes, we don't have any vendor spots left, so I just wanted to call that out. But we do have the sponsorship opportunities. Contact Allison at the chamber at 951-244-6124. And we appreciate everyone's local support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now it's your turn.
Now it's my turn. Would Karen Bevins and Nancy Carroll please come forward? Most of you probably don't know these two ladies. They just are new arrivals in our community. Just kidding. Just kidding. They've been here many years and are really truly assets to our committee, our city, and they also belong to our emergency preparedness committee. But also what they do for us, because we're such a small city, we depend tremendously on our volunteers. As you know, this summer was pretty warm, to the point that we were concerned we had to open cooling center. And we had opened it several times this year, and these two graciously came down at no pay, opened, waited, and was there with either water or cooling time. And this is a simple token of us to say thank you for the countless hours and the things that they gave up to be able to help out our community. So, Karen?
Look Nancy this way, don't blink, 1, 2, 3, thanks.
Thank you, guys.
You're live.
No, she's on video. She's not taking a picture.
Oh,
There, how's that?
You're not done?
Oh, no, we do sheriff.
No, we're gonna keep you up there.
Oh, we're gonna keep going. Okay, well, this is pretty simple.
Fire Station 60.
This is Fire Station 60. If the crew would come, please come forward. For those that don't know, Fire Station 60 is our local station that we have within the community. And Captain Carter has been here for many, many years. But this is our chance to thank our first responders, our fire, of course the police will be next. But we can't say so many words of praise. This is actually, this month, September, is Firefighter Recognition Month for the state of California. It's our turn as citizens to thank you for those who have given their life. And for some of you today, I don't know if you saw this because I'm connected to the fire service and that's part of my passion. I had a really moment today, 17 years ago, the towers, okay? What towers? All of us remember that. A lot of folks died. A lot of firefighters died. Truck 113 was going across the Brooklyn Bridge with 6 guys on it. In the background is the towers burning. Those 6 guys never returned. I had a personal friend die in 9/11. He was a chief officer for the New York Fire Department. It's personal. These guys put their lives on the lines every day, and I can't say thank you enough. We have lost at least 6 this year, and we lost 5 in 1 month. Okay? I wish all of you could thank not only these guys, but everyone else in the fire service. Just a couple of things for Station 60. They had a very difficult rescue, that someone was down into a trench rescue, a technical rescue. I guess it took quite a long time to get the person out, successful on that. Structure fires, which most of them, that's all we do, wet stuff on the red stuff. I think everybody can relate to that. But this is a sincere thanks from the city of Canyon Lake and those in the community and the surrounding communities for the services and the dedication that you give. Thank you.
One more. Thank you.
Captain Carter, will you please step? Because
Larry, I'm sorry, Larry, can you speak into the microphone, please? And you're gonna have to speak into the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
I
we'll
thought I
pick
was-
you up and we can hear you.
I thought it was loud enough, but it's not for you guys, it's for those out there.
Captain Carter, how long have you worked on the fire recently and never got home?
Well, I did actually know that little statistic. Captain Carter just came off doing 20 days straight. As you know, we've had many fires within our region, both the Holy, the Idlewild, and some others, and he got a long detail. Captain Carter, for those who don't know, has been assigned to this our station for how many years now? More than 2?
More than a few.
Yes, but when we reopened the station, which most of you do, or were here, it was a really an enlightening thing for us because we'd had the station shut down. And we were very, very fortunate that Captain Carter was reassigned because the staff in County Fire said, we need a guy to come back that understands our community, knows where the stuff's at in the community, and is really liked in the community. So all those are pluses. So with that, I want to say thank you from us at City Council. Thank you for protecting our citizens, and you are a true asset to our community. Thank you. And you don't have to be speechless for words. You got 28 seconds.
Well, first of all, thank you very much. It is a group effort. You know, it's not one person. It's a community of staff, firefighters, chiefs, chief officers. It's just, I'm just another cog in there. So I might recognize something and bring it to their attention, to the city's attention, and then with their assistance, we get things up and running and fixed and try and give the highest level of service available to the community. Thank you very much.
I had the opportunity to speak directly to the family that was involved, that they lived at the Wrangler fire. I don't remember when that happened. They're out of town tonight. She's coming back. You have to come back in October. This is from her. She'll tell the stories better than I can, but in particular, she was worried about some pictures. She spoke so highly of the team here and of the people that came, and in particular, you. She mentioned several times. And we're so blessed in this community to have our fire station back and to have the people that are so dedicated come to our aid. Thank you very much.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jeff Stone. I'm your state senator, and I've had the wonderful opportunity to represent you. It's hard to believe now, for 12 years. 8 years as your county supervisor, and I'm completing my 4th year in the state senate. And it really has been a blessing. Madam Mayor and council members, and I see a lot of familiar faces that I've known for many, many years. It's amazing. Betsy, who I've known, Betsy's former husband, Dave Dixon, was the city manager when I was on the Temecula City Council. So it's kind of like a little bit of a reunion here tonight and seeing a lot of wonderful people. But I've got fire on my mind. As you know, this has been the worst fire season in the state's history, with over 1 million acres that have burned. And I was very proud to have been selected by the Senate to be one of 5 senators to sit on a conference committee to try to come up with ways in which we can protect the victims that lost over 5,000 homes. We have the loss of life, including fireman life, and how we can improve our ability to go in and clear brush and clear 129 million dead trees. And I'm very proud to have served on that committee. And we have the environmentalists on one side that say, no, we don't want you going into the forest and doing anything. And we're saying, no, in the best interest of public safety, we have to go and clear brush, clear dead trees, make sure the utilities don't have brush and trees that can interrupt them, that can cause a spark and cause a fire. And I think we made a lot of progress this year, but we have a lot more work yet to be done. So I'm here tonight to also recognize Captain Brent Carter. You know, it's very typical of somebody of his stature and his experience and his professionalism to come up here and be as humble as he was. But he comes with a life of experience in firefighting, especially the wildfires that have plagued this state. And it's really the training ground for a lot of fire officials that start their careers in CAL FIRE and get to be mentored by a wonderful professional, as you have here with Captain Brent Carter. And I can't tell you how pleased I am, and kudos to the City Council for reopening Station 60 and giving the citizens of Canyon Lake the quality of life, knowing that if their house goes up, that there is a fire apparatus that is going to come and save their lives and maybe save their homes. So Canyon Lake Fire Chief Captain Brent Carter, as your state senator, I want to thank you for going above and beyond your community to make it safe. It's an honor to have you as a state of California official and certainly as a Canyon Lake official. A job well done. Thank you for your service. And if I could, you mentioned the dedication and professionalism of your staff, so I'd like to invite your wonderful firefighters to come up here, please. And the chief's officers also. Somebody here from the Sheriff's Department also. Yes. I have the Sheriff. I'd like to come up here in 1 second, but this is also to do with your fire station, also recognizing all of you for your collective efforts to make Canyon Lake safe. EMS, fire abatement, inspections for the city. We greatly appreciate you on behalf of 1 million citizens in the 22nd District. Thank you for your service. And be safe. Woo.
One more, don't blink. Thanks.
And if I could invite our friend up from the Sheriff's Department. You know, when I was on the Board of Supervisors, we did 2 very important things. We modified our communication system to our 800 megahertz system because we knew that we were going to have a calamity, a national disaster in Riverside County. We wanted to make sure that the U.S. Forestry Service, California Highway Patrol, the county sheriff's department, individual police departments, that we could all communicate with one another. We didn't have that ability. I'm very proud to say that we accomplished that. Not only did we accomplish that, but we have probably the most modern reverse 911 system in the entire United States, right here in Riverside County. So I'm very proud of that. But I'm also very proud of our county sheriff's department and Representative Harris' office, where you get immediate help, right? When you need something, you're gonna call 911, you got an officer that's gonna come, and there's very dedicated deputies that work in Riverside County that put their lives on the line every day to try to make you safe. And it's my job in Sacramento at a time when they want to make being a police officer less safe, and they want to let more criminals out of jails. My goal is to hold people accountable for their crimes and make sure the dangerous people stay off our streets so they don't hurt our police officers, and just as importantly, they don't hurt or kill you. So on behalf of the state of California and the Senate, thank you for your wonderful service.
Yes, and just real quick, before I introduce one of our new lieutenants at the station, I also accept this on behalf of the men and women of the Canyon Lake Police Department and the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. They're out there every day protecting our freedom, and they do an outstanding job. I'd also like to thank the community, the city council, the mayor for the overwhelming support that we get from this community. So I just wanted to thank you very much. Now, some of you previously met Lieutenant Ray Husty, had conversations with him, wonderful guy. He was transferred to another bureau, and as a result, we received a new lieutenant at the Paris Station. He's not a brand new lieutenant, but he's new to the Paris Station. His name is Lieutenant Matt Sims, so I'm going to have him come up. He's going to represent the city of Canyon Lake. I'll have him come up and tell you a little bit about himself. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I will.
There you go.
Which way should I face?
There you go, great.
We're good right here?
You're good.
All right. Hi, my name is Matt Sims, as Captain Fellow said. Been with the department for about 20 years. I'll be 20 years this November. I was promoted to lieutenant about 4 years ago and recently assigned to the Paris Station in June. It's not my first time being assigned to the Paris Station. I was a deputy here. I've worked many patrol shifts right here in Canyon Lake. I'm happy to be back, and I'm looking forward to working with you guys and the city council and the mayor. So, thank you.
Stay where you are still, we're not done. I do want to say, I have a long list of things, wonderful things to say about our police force. We've had a really hectic year here in Canyon Lake, and none of us will ever forget the swatting incident that started with our men and then came every police officer from 25 miles maybe. We were so well protected, and we've had too many incidences, more than we like, but just enough to show us what we have here in Canyon Lake and the protection that we have, and to say once again, thank you. I have another certificate for you because our police force is everything to us. An outstanding job, and I have a long list of things that I could read, but I know that there's some anxious to sneak out the back door, so let's first get this done. This is the City Council's appreciation to the Paris Station for all that you've done, and now the man behind the camera there is now going to be coming with you, I assume, or coming at least to the meetings, and we will
Yes.
welcome him as we welcome you. Thank
Absolutely.
you very much.
I appreciate it
For
very
him.
much. Absolutely. Our pleasure.
Okay, now I need to take 2 minutes. I need everybody in uniform. Everybody in uniform over here, please. We just need a quick picture. And you two don't sit down. This is different. You may not have a uniform on, but you're still in uniform. So. I think, yes, in front of the shield. Can you join us also? Yeah, you're official now? Nobody's going to be in there but you guys, so you need to climb on in.
Squeeze in, guys.
Have
Be
everybody
smile.
in
Get
here?
close.
After.
All right, on the count of 3, don't blink. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And here's the last one. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to put city council with you.
What an awesome picture that is. Yes, can we do what the city council, please, I'm sorry, just your indulgence for just 2 more minutes. We're going to go with a picture with our protector. Andy.
Okay.
Done.
Yes. You're not getting away either, so you're just going
I mean, if you want, you can sit in the chairs in front. I don't know, but yeah.
Whatever's easiest for you, so that you get all of
Squeeze in,
it.
just squeeze in. sit in front of those chairs.
How about if we sit three down, one stand on?
Yeah.
Let's do that. John, you sit. One, two.
Oh, thank you.
I'll sit. I'll stand over you.
Good check. Okay, and a little more, Larry?
How's that?
Perfect. Okay, on the count of three, don't blink. 1, 2, 3. Hang on, one more. 1, 2, 3, and last one. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Okay.
Sir, how are you? Good to see you. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Bad childhood.
Before they run. Captain Carter? I'm sorry, we've got you out. Here, one more comment.
Captain Carter, I just wanted to say from a personal standpoint, and I know that you embarrass a little easily sometimes, but these fellows are not just firemen. They're caregivers and they're friends. And I had an incident several years ago. Matter of fact, the previous councilwoman, Mary Creighton, was there with me at the time, where the paramedics had to take me to the hospital. Now, that's usually the end of their job. They get you there and make sure you're checked in. Captain Carter spent the evening with me there, and I hope I don't get you in trouble for not manning your post properly, but he almost held my hand the whole evening to make sure that everything was okay. So I just wanted to say thank you, and I've told you this before, but thank you so much. It's a pleasure to know you. It's a pleasure to call you a friend, and certainly all of the fellas that work with you, it's a pleasure to know all of them. So thank all of you.
Okay. If I can have Joanna Granados come up? No, I didn't think so, but I thought maybe. Well then Stephanie, I guess that better be you.
You get her sister instead.
There you go. Looking stunning on my head. So this is the second year in a row, right?
It is.
Okay.
I don't know how I'm supposed to go after all this amazing.
So Bombshells is in our little town center here in Canyon Lake, and for 2 years in a row, it's been named Boutique of the Year.
California
Boutique of the Year. Which is pretty stunning when you consider how many California boutiques there are out there. So on behalf of Canyon Lake City Council, thank you so much for being in our town center, being part of Canyon Lake, and let's make it 3.
I know, 3-peat, we gotta do
That's
it.
right. In bowling, I think it's called a turkey. Let's do a turkey.
I like it.
Then we'll go from there, okay?
I like it. Thank you.
very much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you
Thank you.
doing this.
We do have a proclamation. Stephanie? Sorry, Vicki, where are you? Would you mind?
City of Canyon Lake proclamation honoring Bombshells recognition of achievement. Whereas Bombshells has been named 2018 California Boutique of the Year by the 2018 Global Boutique Awards for the second year in a row. And whereas Bombshells is the only boutique in California to earn awards in 2 categories in 2017 and 2018, which includes California Storefront Boutique of the Year, and whereas the Global Boutique Awards received hundreds of thousands of votes cast around the world to recognize and celebrate boutiques for their business, service, charm, style, and outlook. And whereas the Global Boutique Awards celebrates boutiques and specialty stores, whether online, mobile, or brick and mortar, who are the lifeblood of cities and towns of all sizes around the world. And whereas Bombshells is owned and operated by sisters Stephanie Stout and Johanna Granados with the goal of bringing affordable clothing to local girls in their small hometown of Canyon Lake. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Council of the City of Canyon Lake do hereby extend their congratulations to Stephanie Stout and Johanna Granados, owners of Bombshells, on their continued accomplishments and wish them the very best in their future endeavors. Dated this 5th day of September 2018.
One more, don't blink.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, what an exciting night. I mean, how could I miss being here tonight to honor the Bombshells, right? Been selected both the 2018 California Boutique of the Year and the 2018 Favorite California Storefront Boutique. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Isn't that awesome?
Second, 2 years in a row too, right?
Yeah.
Two sisters, Stephanie Stout and Johanna Granados, right? Whose idea was it to build the store?
We were at lunch one day and I
Yeah.
said, hey, we should do something new.
How entrepreneurial. Your
I
parents?
wish I had a better story.
You know what? That's the way things happen in California. Your parents have lived here since 1982,
They have.
and Stephanie was born and raised here.
I was.
And, you know, in Sacramento, we commonly say that we are the 5th largest economy in the world. I don't know if you know this, that 98% of the jobs in California are created by small businesses, 200,000 a year. And one of my goals in Sacramento is to make it easier for people like this to do business and get government out of the way. It just shows you what the entrepreneurial spirit can do in a small community, in a small city like Canyon Lake. So I'm very excited to be here tonight and to present to you this Senate Certificate of Recognition presented to the Bombshells in honor of being selected as the 2018 California Boutique of the Year and the 2018 California Storefront of the Year. And I'm going to share this on the floor of the Senate when we get back in January, because I like bragging about my district. This is pretty heavy stuff, so congratulations to you.
Oh, sorry. Can you see?
Yeah, sorry, you don't have to get the.
Yes, thank you.
Hang on, now I've got Donna's.
One more. Perfect, thank you.
And now, if you want to say something.
Not yet.
Sorry.
That's twice.
I know, that's twice.
You keep forgetting that.
I'm really over this.
We'll be quick. I don't think there's much left to say now.
Take your
other
time,
than
take your time.
You guys have been wonderful friends, and I love seeing your success story.
Thank you.
And I get to represent a couple of dignitaries tonight, so we'll start off, first of all, from Melissa, Assemblywoman. Okay.
Into the
In the microphone.
This one is from Assemblywoman Melendez, representing Bombshells, certificate of recognition for your accomplishments.
Sorry.
All right, and also on behalf of our district supervisor, Kevin Jeffries, also a certificate of recognition.
This one too.
And one more.
Okay.
And from the Chamber of Commerce. in Canyon Lake.
Yay! My favorite chamber ever. Yes, we're the best.
So to you and Johanna, congratulations on a
Thank you.
very successful business.
Thank you.
It's doing
Thank
wonderful.
you. Thank you. No, hugs around here. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Beach?
I don't know how I go after the firemen and the police. This is amazing. Canyon Lake has been my home for 34 years. I'm dating myself. I can't imagine living anywhere else. It's a beautiful city, beautiful people. We could not have done this without our community. I am just thankful to be a part of Canyon Lake, and I appreciate everyone for everything that they do and supporting us. Thank you.
certificates? Good? All right. Okay, so now we move on to public comments.
Any person wishing to address the city council on any matter within the jurisdiction of the city, whether or not it appears on this agenda, is asked to complete a speaker request form available on the back counter. The completed form is to be submitted to the city clerk prior to an individual being heard by the city council. The city council has adopted a time limitation of 3 minutes per person. If you are commenting on the agenda item, your comments will be heard at the time that particular item is scheduled on the agenda. Please note that if you are addressing the city council on items not on the agenda, the Brown Act does not allow discussion of such items. Therefore, the city council may only do the following: refer the matter to staff, ask for additional information or request a report back, or give a limited factual response. We have 2 speakers. Nancy Horton.
Nancy Horton, EVMWD, District 1 Representative. We are buying water. Yesterday at the WR31 turnout in Paris, the first trickle came through the pipeline into the San Jacinto River. We're buying 1,800 acre feet. They say it will take 18 days, but I don't believe it. I think it's going to be longer than that. It has to cover 13 miles to get to us at the North Ski area. It's going to raise the lake level by 3 feet. There will be approximately 30% loss to evaporation, diversion, and saturation. There's a graph that I recently saw, and in 2007 we had the highest air temperatures and the lowest lake level in 20 years. This is the second occasion, the second highest air temperatures for the summer and the second lowest lake level. And we bought water in 2007 and we're buying water in 2018. The reason for purchasing the water is for the health of the reservoir. If it gets too low, we can't process the water for drinking water. So we are trying to keep the level up till we get the first rains, and then we're hoping that it flows all the way over the dam to Lake Elsinore. That's the hope. The course of the San Jacinto River is full of grasses, brush, trees, and animal habitat. And we're not allowed to change that. We're not allowed to go in and clean it out because Fish and Wildlife says we can't touch it. So the water has to course through all of this kind of debris to get to us. We have one of our staff members checking the whole course, the whole 13 miles, because if we find that some of the water is being diverted, perhaps to a ranch or a farm, then we'll stop. We won't produce any more water from that turnout. But so far, we haven't seen any diversion. Again, we are looking forward to raising the level 3 feet. We don't know exactly how long it's going to take, but since it's the first time since 2007, it's kind of a new thing for all of us. So any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Creighton.
Well, we have 2 ex-council members up here today. And I think this is the first time I address this from this side of the table. Oh, I did it before? Oh, okay, thank you for remembering, I forgot. Anyway, I just wanted to make a quick comment because we had a lot of discussion earlier on about the closing of the fire station and the problems. I want you to know that that was one of the most trying times of my life when we went through that. It was awful. But how did we recover from it? We recovered and were able to open the fire station because of the utility users tax. And it's coming up for a vote again. And I just wanted to say, if you don't vote for it, then you're probably going to have to close the fire station again because it just isn't that kind. Our city does not have that kind of money. So vote for it. That's all.
Thank you. on to the consent calendar.
All items listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine matters, status reports, or documents covering previous city council action. The items listed on the consent calendar may be enacted in one motion. With the concurrence of the city council, a council member may request that an item be removed for further discussion. Staff recommends approval of all items.
I move to approve the consent.
Second.
Wait, hold on, hang on, hold that thought. I have a question on one of the items. and I
Yes,
believe that-
we found a billing error on one of the checks, so we need to pull check number 24445 from item 7.2. So if you, Councilmember Bonner, if you'd like to amend your motion to include that item.
Yes, please.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second?
We have second. Larry, second.
Oh, okay. And then we take a vote?
No,
Are there-
we need public comment.
Okay, do we have public comments for this item?
Public comment stand.
I think so.
I wish to pull 7.2.
Oh, okay, well, good for you, because it's been done, right? Isn't that the item?
No, he pulled the check.
Yeah, he wants to pull the whole thing. Yeah, we just pulled a check from the warrant.
Shall we pull the whole thing?
Okay.
Okay, why not?
And then we can vote on that. You can vote on 7.2 separately.
Okay.
Okay, so
The whole, no, just the 7-2.
The reason it's being pulled is because it's inaccurate. So you will not see this item back.
Oh, okay.
So it won't be back to vote on.
Okay,
Okay.
until,
Well, no, it won't be back next month. This is not mysterious, let me explain. You have a receivership action for a long-term code enforcement problem. In the receivership action, there are two ways in which you can deal with it. You can have the bills paid as you go forward, or you can have them paid when the receivership concludes and the account is funded generally by sale of the property. We chose the latter for reasons I won't even mention. The billing got passed on to you. What I said was, you can bill a $200 bill from a process server. Instead, they billed it all.
Okay.
So we have undone that, and the amount will be put into the receivership. The bills will be put into receivership, which is paid for from, what do we call it, the receivership estate.
okay. All right, so the rest of the items, we need to amend it to pull 7.2 completely out of the consent calendar, correct?
7.2 is the entire warrant. Check 24445 is one item in
Okay,
the warrant.
Yeah, it says.
right.
So just to pull.
I would say, yeah, you don't want to pull them all.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, so I think, Councilmember Bonner, the idea is your motion was to approve the consent calendar with the exception of, with pulling check 2445 from item 7.2, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then we have a motion and a second from Mayor Pro Tem Green.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Bonner?
Yes.
Councilmember Aaron Kranz?
Yes.
Councilmember Haggerty?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Green?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes. Okay, we're good? Okay, we've had our discussion?
Item 9.
Okay, good. All right, so schedule of future events. I'm so sorry, yes?
John Seitz, 30279 Clearwater, Canyon Lake, California, 92587. I asked for 7.2 to be pulled.
It was pulled.
No, it wasn't pulled. If it was pulled, it'd be item 8 is that.
7.2 is the entire warrant register. Do you want the whole thing, or do you want an item on it?
Well, I wasn't asked, but you just overlooked it. It went into something that I think is clearly inappropriate in a discussion of a consent item, of the consent calendar. It is totally inappropriate to be doing a discussion of an item that's not pulled.
discussed in item 8, which is the appropriate area for a pulled item from the consent calendar. So you shouldn't be on 9, you should be on 8.
Redo that.
So we have 9?
No, we're in 7.3. Okay, okay.
Everything else.
So you're on 8.
No items were pulled. So we're on item 9. Bert, you're.
Why don't, perhaps it would be a better idea to take, for purposes of the minutes, the comments made on the consent calendar as to 7.2, item 8, and put them under section 8 of the agenda.
Have you got that, Victoria? We're good? No, not yet. Yes. We're good to go?
We're good to go.
Good to go. Okay, so on to.
I asked for
item-
7.2 to be pulled, and I wanted to make a comment. And item 8 is where that is supposed to be done, and you didn't do 8. You didn't take comments from the public. Are you just overlooking protocol and how you do these things, or what's going on?
We're on item 9 now. Do you have comments on item 9?
Well, I think.
on item 8.
Okay.
We did not know that.
We didn't, okay. What was, well, we didn't have anything. Okay, would you like to comment on item 8, please?
Yes. Thank you for getting there. I want to pull and discuss for your edification. Check 24243. So if you want to get there, you can look at that. Just giving a little bit of history. Tim Brown in 2016 turned in an expense account for October 2015 through November of 2016, a little over a year in that time period that was passed in 2016. Jordan turned in an expense account for November 2015 through March, 5 months, and then April 16 to October 16, 7 months at one particular time. So what is the city policy? What is the law?
Are these on item 8?
Yes, they are. So it's the first check. And just to be clear for the council, it's the very first page, very first check. Those are credits. This was a check that was pulled a couple of months ago, and this is a credit back to that to show that. This is not a payment to Councilmember Aaron Krantz. This is a credit to the general fund.
Okay, that's what I
So,
thought.
yes, this is not a payout at all. This is a credit.
Okay.
Because the check was pulled, I believe, in July. It was pulled at the June or July meeting.
Isn't
At Jordan's, at Councilmember Aaron Krantz' request, and so this is the corresponding accounting move to credit that.
Why
the brackets?
That's why the brackets are to show credit, yes.
There you go. Okay, does that answer your question?
No,
Is
I
that the
haven't
discussion
finished,
we
but
wanted?
thank you for interrupting me. I still have 3 minutes. I had 3 minutes, but I'm sure since you interrupted that you're going to give me the 3 total. Want to start from the scratch?
Well, sure. Do we want to, we've got 2.5 minutes. Let's go from there.
What does the law say? The expense report shall document that expenses meet the existing policy, adopt pursuant to section 5323.2 for expenditure of public resources. Members of the legislative body shall submit expense reports within a reasonable time after incurring the expense, as determined by the legislative body. What did the legislative body do? The legislative body had a rule, and it says officials and the city manager must submit the appropriate city form for each trip by a set date each month for submission of reimbursement. The date is chosen to coordinate with preparation of the warrant register, which is done every month. And that's the old policy, because Vicki Warren and Green established a committee to look into expense accounts in 2017, which was very successful. They unseated the mayor and took care of it. And you guys passed a policy in 2017, September 2017. And it says, all bills must be submitted on a reimbursement expense form completed and signed by the council member with documentation attached. All forms must be submitted within 30 to 60 days of the bill. And that is the existing law. And as you stated, that there was an approval going back, and I don't know what it is, but if you look at the warrant, it says it's going back to September of 2017 to approve the expenses for Jordan Ehrenkrantz, who has been known to not do his expense accounts on time. And there's no statement. And I guess you guys all know about it because you just passed right over it and don't comment. It's nice that the city manager made a comment. I don't know what that is, but that you're accounting for 4 months of 2017 in September, going back to September 2017. It just looks bad, and I think it's nice that you explain to people what's going on.
Thank you. Now, I think third time is a charm.
We're on item 9.
Item 9, okay. We have a list of our meetings, upcoming meetings are on the city website. You can also call in and get any information. Mike, I'm gonna rely on you real quick. What is the date of the next Veterans Committee? It's not on here. Or I could ask Karen, or Karen left us.
If I recall, I thought we set it September 13th.
I think so. I can't look at my phone.
Thursday, September 13th. I think that's what it was, yeah.
Okay. All right, but we will update that and put that also on the website. And anybody who has anything that they feel we should also have on the website calendar, please let our staff know and they'll make sure to add it. Number 10 is business items.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, Mayor and members of the City Council. Discussing with the mayor, she sits on the board for the JPA for the animal shelter. Animal Friends of the Valley, who manages animal control services and the shelter for the city and for the JPA, has asked for the region to have basically a uniform ordinance regarding spay, neutering, and microchipping. And so at the mayor's request, and it's appropriate since she sits on that board, that to discuss and give direction to staff as to possibly how to handle this if it's something this council would like to go forward with, and staff would bring back at a later date this ordinance. I'd like to bring up Neil Trent, who is the executive director for Animal Friends of the Valley, to give you why they believe this is necessary, and then we'll have a council discussion.
Thank you. Good evening, folks. Mayor Warren, council members. I'll be as brief as I possibly can. Chief Officer Middleton, our Chief Animal Control Officer, is joining me. This is a tandem team, so when you get bored of listening to a British accent, we'll go American. So a very brief presentation, probably about 10 minutes max, to give you an overview. First of all, I'd like to give kudos to the Canyon Lake City for moving forward on this. Joint Powers Authority is comprised of 6 cities, Riverside County, and Canyon Lake. This is an issue that's been on the table for a while, but Canyon Lake is the first city that stepped up and said, well, let's know more about this. So perhaps then a brief overview. So during within the boundaries of JPA, and the Animal Friends of the Valley has animal service contracts with 6 cities and part of Riverside County. There are no laws currently requiring microchipping or the sterilization of pets. So essentially anybody in this jurisdiction can own up to 4 female dogs. All 4 can have a litter of 8 pups on average, and are able to breed twice a year in that climate in California. Not necessarily in Maine. It's a little chilly up there, you usually get 1 litter a year, but down here you get 2. So essentially, each of those dogs could produce another 64 additional dogs into the community. So overpopulated pet population is a national issue, but certainly here in Canyon Lake, it's something to contend with. Current laws do not allow us to do anything about it. Pets without microchipping make it almost impossible to reunite lost animals with their owners, and unclaimed animals become essentially the responsibility of the Animal Friends of the Valley to feed, care for, perhaps sometimes medical or veterinary intervention if they've been hit by cars, and then eventually, hopefully, rehome. So the problem is there's too many animals and not enough homes in the community. So in Canyon Lake, 2017, we took in 113 dogs and 114 cats that were straying within Canyon Lake. Returned to owners, those are the animals that were successfully reunited with their owners. 34 dogs out of 113 and 4 cats out of 114 cats. The rest of the animals ended up at the shelter, and hopefully most of them got adopted into good homes. I can't guarantee you that. Some animals were not. So who made it home? 30% of the dogs and 3.5% of the cats. So, why microchip? About 5 good reasons. If you don't, at the moment it's expensive to get a pet out of the shelter. It can cost upwards of $400 to get a pet from a shelter if it's not microchipped, if it's not licensed, and it's not vaccinated. Collars and dog tags fall off. The majority of the dogs coming into the shelter with collars on do not have tags. They may have a collar, but there's no attached tag. Many pets are found dead on the roads. They're hit by cars. If your pet is found dead and it has a microchip, it can be scanned, and although it's bad news for you, at least you can have closure in knowing what happened to your pet. Proof of ownership. Pet theft and flipping of pets for profit, you only have to open your Craigslist to see how prevalent that is. It's a real thing, and microchipping proves ownership. And emergency contact, of course, an emergency clinic will often refuse treatment for an animal if he doesn't know who the owner is, if it's just listed as a stray, but a microchip will enable the vet to know it has a legitimate owner. So in Canyon Lake, 84 animals were chipped. That's 3.7 of the animals. Mandatory spay-neuter, that's the other side of the coin. So we're talking microchipping and mandatory spay-neuter. The reason we are encouraging mandatory spay-neuter is because of so many backyard breeders. Unregulated breeders, owners of what we call the oops litter, where spring was in the air and somebody jumped a fence, and a lot of those animals end up in a night drop, dumped in a night drop overnight. A reduction in aggression and wanderlust in male dogs. Neutered male dogs do not go for walkabouts. If they're unneutered, often they get into fights and they go looking for girlfriends. It's a nice way of putting it, right? Also, the neutering of a male dog will reduce testicular cancer and some prostate problems. In the female dog, there's a more life-threatening problem called pyometra, which is caused by an infection in the womb, and that is negated, of course, if you spay the female dog. And many times, entire animals that have had litters of puppies come in with mammary tumors and cancers. So we get that all the time at the shelter. So common issues with unregulated breeding practices, unhealthy and unwanted litters of kittens and puppies are dumped at the shelter. There's a lack of proper care, quality food, clean water and shelter and veterinary care with unregulated breeding. Proper socialization is not done, which often creates a behavior issue in the animal later in life. There's no screening of potential guardians. There's no discussion about whether the breed is a good fit for a home. Some folk will come into the shelter and pick a St. Bernard for a pet, and they live in a 200 square foot apartment, and that's okay for them. Isn't necessarily okay for the dog. There's not a lot of screening in terms of genetics. There's some animals that do have genetic issues. They will keep passing this bloodline through, and animals come into the shelter often with major genetic problems. And of course, prolific breeding creates dogs sometimes with aggressive tendencies. So, in 2006, Riverside County introduced a very, very proactive municipal code. Spay, neuter, and microchip. They mandated that that had to happen throughout Riverside County City. And there were 4 sections in it, including spay and neutering, penalties for failure to spay and neuter, microchipping of dogs and cats, and the mandatory spaying and neutering of pit bull breeds and bully breeds. That was what was introduced in 2006 in Riverside County, and I will be sending through the city copies of the codes. In fact, I think you already have them, and also copies of this for circulation. But it's been a very successful code. So where are we at the moment? Before I ask Chief Officer Middleton to talk about the animal control aspect of it, we want to reach out to JPA member cities and do a presentation such as this. And thank you so much for allowing me. You're the guinea pig, so let me know afterwards how I was doing. We want to deliver the presentation to communities as a collaborative, so that all the cities and Riverside then join together and say, this is a move forward, this is proactive, it will reduce animal suffering, it will reduce animals killed on the streets, it will reduce the population of unwanted animals. We propose some ordinance change, individual ordinance change, and we work with the city attorneys to update individual municipal codes. We will develop educational marketing materials because it's important to get out to the community and the public why we would like to do this and what the benefits are. Education, communication is critical in this. And we'll coordinate with rescue partners, veterinarians, pet stores, distribution partners to help effect some changes in public perception and awareness of this issue. And of course, importantly, we will coordinate with our regional partners of code violations. Because even today, I heard about a cruelty case, a hoarding case that had come across our table just several years ago, where somebody was prosecuted, but they've gone out of state and they're now doing exactly what they were doing here. And we're talking about animals that died and were abused. And so they're just moving their location to somewhere else. So we want to establish some reporting regulations. So thank you so much for your time. I'm going to ask Chief Officer Middleton to just step up and give a little bit of information about the animal control component.
I do have a question.
Yes,
I know I'm putting you on the spot. I don't know if one or both of you have the answer. So how many unspayed, unneutered came through your gates? Let's pick 2016. Can you get that number to us?
I could get that number to you. We deal with about 250 animals a week. It's about 13,000 a year. I can get figures for Canyon Lake, specific figures for Canyon Lake, but a lot of them are unneutered. We will not allow an adopted animal, and anybody comes into, if you came in, much as I really like you, Mayor Warren, if you came in tomorrow and wanted to adopt an animal from us, it would have to be spayed and neutered before it left our premises.
Right, okay.
Mayor?
Yeah, is it of Mr. Trent, or are we waiting until the other? I was putting them on the spot, but if you can do that too.
Well, it says no person may own, keep, or harbor an unaltered or unsprayed dog or cat. Does that mean they cannot reproduce?
Essentially, what we're trying to do is for most of the public, yes, if they keep a pet, they will not be able to, if they keep that animal entire, they will have to pay the fees, the citations that will go with that. But I will ask Chief Officer Middleton to comment on perhaps folk that do have a dog that they want to breed from, a specific breed of dog, because Riverside County, I think, has made allowances for that.
And I will answer that for you. Riverside County set this up to where we could, of course, drop the population down with animals and unwanted litters. Always call them, again, the oops litter, because those are the ones that end up at the shelter. They end up finding homes for 3 or 4 of them, and the other 3 or 4 end up at the shelter. And again, we will send this to you. We did bring it on a thumb drive tonight. We didn't realize that we wouldn't have anything to show you tonight. But yes, Riverside County, inside the municipal code, they actually have a breeding permit. So if you do have an animal that you are interested in breeding and you're a responsible dog owner, then there is a breeding permit that you would be able to purchase, so that you wouldn't, the licensing would be a little bit more. You would still have to license your dog, but you would have this breeding permit that you'd be able to use. The program that they put in place is working. We're watching it work, and that's the reason why we're here to pitch this to our cities. And again, thank you so much, Mayor, for being the first and being, again, our, no pun intended, our guinea pig on this one. So again, I did a meeting today. I did talk to a chamber today, and we were talking about this, and I said, you know, I've been here for 14 years, and 14 years ago, the problem existed where we were putting 80% of the animals in the shelter to sleep. Most people don't know that. If you figure 80% of the animals that come in there are unwanted, there's just not enough homes for them. And now we're at a position where we're not having to put animals to sleep. So the program that is already in place, the vouchers, the grant money that we have that we're giving out and giving free spay neuters is working, but it's still not enough. And that's the reason why, again, Riverside County stepped up and they brought this program in with the changed their municipal codes and they made it mandatory. That's where our 6 cities wants to be. That's where we want to hit. And again, it's going to cut down on what we're seeing in the shelter. We just recently had a box of 9 boxer puppies. No pun intended on that one, I guess, either. It worked out pretty good, though. Boxer puppies dropped at the shelter. These puppies were covered with Secaucus mange. And what happened was the mother had mange, she bred the litter, and we don't know this for sure because of course they were dumped. But and I worked in the veterinary business for 22 years, so I can tell you the mother had Secaucus mange, passed it on to her puppies. The puppies started looking horrible. So when it come time to selling these puppies, guess what? You couldn't sell them. Nobody wanted these puppies that were hairless and had oozing sores on them. So they were dumped at our shelter. So again, this will cut some of that out. This will take and make a person more responsible. Here's how it's going to help Canyon Lake. Even though on this here, if you'll look at this, again, stray animals taken in. What's nice about Canyon Lake being a gated community, the way that you are, is a stray usually means it's somebody's animal, you know, that has no form of ID. It has no tag, it has no microchip or anything like that. In the city of Canyon Lake, unless you guys, you know, have a secret hole in the fence, most of your animals are owned. Most of the animals that we pick up on the street are owned, and those animals have come into Canyon Lake in someone's car. So it's not going to be somebody driving, like we have a problem in a couple of our cities, that they go to nice dark areas and they drop dogs off. Canyon Lake doesn't have that. That's the reason why we love you guys and we want you to be our poster child here. You guys will be on our next slide, by the way. So with 113 dogs picked up and brought to the shelter off the city streets of Canyon Lake, and only 34 of them went home, that means the person just decided, hey, you know, it's kind of nice. Not having to feed the dog, I'm not having to take care of it. So that responsibility they threw off on the city of Canyon Lake. So they didn't come get it. With a microchip in that animal, we can at least go knock on that door and say, hey, if you don't want the dog, just let us know. Okay? We'll keep your dog. We'll find it a better home. But it at least brings that responsibility there. And that's what we're looking for. And cats, as you know, in our safety meetings, we talk to you guys all the time about the cats, they just multiply. We have houses, we just trapped 22, I think it was about 3 months ago, 22 cats out of one of your Canyon Lake homes up here. So if we're bringing in 114 cats and 4 went home, there's a problem. So if we had a mandatory microchipping, then again, out of that 114, we might be able to hold somebody responsible, and maybe we wouldn't even have 114 if there was a mandatory spay and neuter. We wouldn't even have this problem. This problem would be gone. So again, that's the reason why we're here to talk and to kind of tell you, these are our ideas. This is nothing new for us. We've had these ideas forever. We're seeing them work, but we want to progress to the next. We want to make our cities, all of our cities, have responsible animal owners. And that's the big issue, is being responsible. Now again, one aspect that we can look at that we've been talking about, Riverside County also holds that person responsible if that animal comes into the shelter. So if that animal comes into the shelter and you decide you're not coming to get it, guess what? You get a bill in the mail. So they're able to bill you. You guys can recoup some costs that way, because these animals are being held at your expense for 5 days. A stray comes in with no form of ID, it has to be held for 5 days. After the 5th day, it can go up for adoption. If it comes in with a form of ID, it gets held for 10 days. But at this point, there is no system to hold them responsible for that 5 days. So at this point, we can also say with this microchip, okay, your animal was there, we can call you and you can say, I release this animal now. So the animal doesn't sit there for that 5 days in the shelter and it can go up for adoption. So, and most of you know me, I could talk all night, so I will stop, I won't go any further, but if there's questions, I will definitely answer those for you.
We do have questions.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Oh, I know. Yes, yes.
Oh,
I found her on eBay. Really good, yes.
Craigslist.
See,
Okay, see
what happens?
You know, one thing I will tell you though, he is absolutely right, and this is just a real quick piece of knowledge, is we are seeing massive amount of dog flippers.
Yes.
Okay, these are people that do find your dogs on the street, okay? They don't bring them to the shelter and turn them in. And these people are not only finding your dogs, they're stealing your dogs, and they're immediately flipping them on Craigslist. You know, there's dogs that are going for $250, $300 on Craigslist right now that have microchips. And when people have bought these dogs and paid that money for them and go to their regular vet, that microchip shows up. So then at that point, we can at least reunite that person back with their animal. But not only that, we can go after the person that took the dog. So that also gives us a little bit of power that way too.
We do have questions?
Just for a point of clarification, is this Riverside City's municipal ordinance and not the county's?
It's the county, sir.
Actually, no, it's Riverside City.
It says Riverside City,
Yes,
yeah.
it was Riverside City was.
So, yeah.
See, I told you I was on Craigslist. It wasn't.
Well, this is what happened. It came off Craigslist and it just got messed
yeah.
The information I got was
It's Riverside Cities, okay. Because that fits, this ordinance would be very close to what we would look at.
And I'll tell you, again, that's the reason why we sent it, and we actually sent it to all of our cities, because it would be so easy just to take that and roll it in and use it as our own.
Are there any other questions from the council? I just want to, yeah, Nancy, in just a second. I just want to say real quick, what started this with me is, we have a great shelter. It's a beautiful facility. They do an excellent job. They've done an excellent job for a number of years keeping to the budget that they promised all of us. And everybody's costs are rising and they can't keep to that budget. And they're suffering and the animals are suffering because costs are rising and we can't afford to keep that. So we have to find out what is the beginning of this problem. And the beginning of this problem is the whoops factor. And if we can get a handle on that, then eventually we get a handle on not just cost, but better homes for animals and better treatment of animals. And the end result has to start somewhere. And as unpleasant as the thought is, this is the only viable option. And so that is why Canyon Lake is a guinea pig, because I sit on the JPA and we can't stand to see this keep happening. So we have absolutely, thank you. We have a question from the audience. Nancy?
We tried this about 6 years ago on the council and it never went anywhere. There were two questions that seem to resonate in our community. One is, somebody said, I have a 15-year-old dog. She's not going to survive an operation to be spayed. I don't want her to have to go through that kind of surgery. And the second was, somebody had 2 cats. I think the 2 cats are still living. They're both in-house only. They never go outside. They never encounter any other animals. So they did, again, the same thing. They did not want to spay or neuter the cats. And so those are the 2 things I think that you'll hear that are the emotional issues of people that think that you're going to kill their dog because the dog is so old, they don't want it to go through the surgery. So that's just letting you know that's what we found out.
And I will address that part of it there. There is a provision in there also for a veterinarian to write a note and saying that the animal, because of medical issues, cannot be spayed or neutered, and then the animal still gets the discounted licensing price at that point. And we actually have that at our shelter already. So if someone came in and they had an animal that could not be due to age or an illness, then again, the veterinarian would write a letter on that one.
One more thing, blow your own horn. How many went out the door? on the day to get the animals out the door, the adoption day? How
Oh,
many?
we over 100 on that Saturday.
Oh, my
Yes,
gosh.
100 new homes, and woke up in a lovely home.
Well, that's
Well,
awesome.
they were in love with us, but they woke up in a new.
But it's just not as much, I understand.
No, a lot went out, and then
That's awesome.
just a real update too, that I love to toot our own horn too. I enjoy it. We housed over 170 animals for the fire, for evacuees. So we brought those animals in, we were able to have room for them in the shelter. We set up our classroom as a makeshift shelter, and we did that. So not only that, there was other animals that were coming in, and these were actually, most of these were Riverside County animals. So we housed them at no charge to anybody, any evacuee that was coming in. Not only that, my officers did transport another 70 to 80 animals to San Jacinto Shelter. And then when it was time for those animals to come home, my officers went and picked them up and brought them back to Animal Friends so the person didn't have to drive to San Jacinto. So this is what we did for the fire.
And there were off hours that you were there. In October, we want to honor you. Please come back and.
Yeah, we were open 3 days, 24 hours.
Okay.
This is why I look like this.
Do we have any other questions? Okay, thank you for those. Now we have a discussion on what we want to do with this. Anybody else have any thoughts?
I personally think it's a good idea. My pets, two little ones, are neutered and spayed, and I think that hopefully, and they're chipped, and if they get lost, hopefully they'll be returned. That's why you do it. And I think because there are provisions that we've made for those cats and dogs that have age or health that can be excused, I'll call it, from the process. I think that's a built-in safety mechanism that I think most people in Canyon Lake would probably want their animals ID'd, and especially if you got a dog like my kids' dogs, they probably got triple chips in it because they pay $2,000 each for them. Yeah.
My question is, how are we going to get this to the public? It starts off by saying no person may own or keep or harbor an unaltered and an unspayed dog or cat over the age of 7 months in violation of this section. How are we going to get this out to all the people so that they know that they're not disobeying a law? And who's going to enforce it?
I think the first step is creating the ordinance. And in the meantime, there would be, I would assume, articles in our local papers. Get it out every way that we can on our website so that people understand we're a little ahead of ourselves. We haven't decided if we're going to do an ordinance, and we haven't voted whether we're going to pass it. Assuming that does happen, then the next step would be informing the public. And there are a lot of ways we can do that. I understand what you're saying. We need to let people know. And we can build in, again, we're the guinea pigs. We can build in any system that we choose to make this work if we choose to go in that direction.
Well, I mean, this forum is not adequate to let everybody know.
No. And we would again notice people, and they would come out and they would discuss the ordinance as we're deciding what we're going to do, and we would take the pros and cons. And if we had an overwhelming group in here saying we don't want this, of course we don't do it. We're here for the citizens. But if we don't have that resistance, then we would do it, and then we would start education.
Oh, I
Are you
understand.
thinking of maybe like a grace period?
Well,
We have a first and second reading, so we'd have both, right?
there's probably going to be a lot of pushback, so we need to be able to present this properly so that everybody understands it and is in agreement with it. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
You're right, I had the pushback too. I understand that. And it took a lot for me several conversations for me to finally come around to where I was looking at this as a solution. So we can discuss that and do a first and second if it gets to that point. Of course, we first have.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think a first and second reading is a really good way to handle it. It gives people, the public, time to be informed and complain or accolade the city. I was it seemed like a personal affront when I read it. We never had a dog neutered. Well, my husband took it personally. He didn't want to have any more dogs neutered for whatever reason. Anyway, after reading it and hearing the presentation, I'm all for it. And if it's appropriate at this time, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt a similar code to the highlights. I think we could write it a little differently, but adopt the main ideas of the neutering, the age, the ability to be able to have a breeding license. All of those things I think are good things that would take away some of the negative aspects of people feeling like their personal liberties would be taken away.
I agree, because I felt that exact same way.
I'd like to make a motion that we do that.
Okay. We have also one more comment here.
Yeah, the Animal Friends of the Valley come to the public safety meeting every monthly. And one of the things we talk about is the number of strange dogs that are reported that on Facebook or what have you. And we're trying to deal with that problem. And would that help on this problem with the microchips, I would think?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
So that even makes more sense.
It would be, and again, when a stray animal is picked up by the public, they can go to any animal hospital, and animal hospital will scan that animal for them, looking for that microchip too. So if there was an ordinance in place, and this is one thing I forgot to add was up there, if there was an ordinance in place for the city of Canyon Lake, any animal picked up in Canyon Lake, a dog flipper or somebody that just decided they want to keep that dog would at least think twice, because it could be identified, and then the law could get involved at that point.
So Don, are you making a motion?
Hold on, though, before we go much further, we have another.
Yeah, so let me make a recommendation, because I don't think we need a motion here, so I think staff is pretty much, the direction is, we have an animal ordinance as it is, so staff will work on updating that to address these issues, and we'll bring that back to you at a later meeting.
Good idea.
We do that maybe December?
We can do it in December.
Sorry to put it off that long, we've got lots going on.
December, I was thinking either December or January, depending on how you feel. But we'll put it on our list for at least December, and we'll come back then.
Time to get everything up to speed. We can get better information, more information as we need it from you guys, because I know Mike's going to be hopping on it. Okay, so that you have the direction? We're good? Get her done. All right. Okay, let's move on to item 11, city manager comments.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. With our Deputy City Clerk, Stephanie Rawson, leaving us recently, we have hired a new Deputy City Clerk. Pretty quick, we've got somebody who comes with a lot of experience. We're really excited and like to introduce her. It's Anna Salcida, right there. And she'll be sitting at the dais in October.
Don't be scared. Okay.
Not September, October?
This is September's meeting.
Oh,
And it's day one, so we figured it wouldn't be fair for her to sit up here, so.
Could have thrown her in. Okay, item 12, council member comments. Councilmember Bonner?
Well, it's going to be very short. We only had one budget and implementation committee on the RCTC Riverside County Transportation Commission, and that was pretty dark last month, so that was the activity.
There you go. All right. Councilmember Aaron Kranz? What you got there?
Well, let me see, where do I start? On the 18th of July, we had a council meeting here, which was very exciting. On the 19th of July, I had a vector meeting. On the 23rd of July, we had a League of Cities meeting, which we attended at Elsinore. Did not have any city or SCAG meeting in August. On August the 6th, I had a WR meeting. Also on August the 6th, the city manager and I went to EVMWD to hear a presentation on their new rates that they were proposing, or not proposing, as it was discussed. Once again, on the 16th of August, I had another Victor meeting. On the 22nd of August, had a kickoff meeting for the CCA, which we just joined in regards, and I could explain that further. On the 22nd of August, we had a ribbon cutting ceremony for the new caregiver provider here in the center. On the 23rd of August, I attended a meeting that Melissa Melendez has, well, just about every other week. Although she wasn't there, we still got an update on what was going on in Sacramento. And, you know, I have all these things that we have a good time laughing at, but I think they're important. That somehow I'm not going to go into everything, because we'll be here all night, of course. But there's an awful lot of good information that I get from Victor. And I have these packets that I offer it every week, or every meeting, I should say, for anybody that wants to see them. I'll be happy to go over it with them. This is all about ticks, and we have ticks. And this is all about a guide to mosquito repellents. And I think I told you last month that there's a lot of information about gin and tonic being a good mosquito repellent. It's a great excuse. But somebody might want to take this and capitalize on it a little. I don't know how to get this out to the public. I mean, I benefit from going to these meetings, but I can't tell everybody here. And there are pages and pages of things and that are affected. You know, we have problems here.
Friday Flyer, we have a website at our disposal.
So-
Any handouts that you get, or articles, can certainly go on the city
Well, then
website.
I think I'll give these to Donna
Okay.
and see if she would like to print them.
Yeah,
I'm not the author, I'm just the messenger.
there you go.
But they're very interesting, as well as being humorous on occasion. But I think that probably concludes my report. Thank you.
Councilmember Haggerty?
Well, August was dark, and I attended my first RTA budget meeting this morning. Our regular meeting is in 2 weeks, so I don't really have anything to report.
Mayor Pro Tem Green?
Boy, it was a busy summer. RCA was dark. Actually, they went dark in July, and also in August. Originally, we were going to have a meeting in July, but because it was so close to the 4th, they did a roll count, and there was going to be so few they couldn't meet the quorum, so that went on. So anyway, it's been kind of one of those summers that's been a little cool here in Canyon Lake, and we have been dealing with several important issues, and we continue to work on them. And our meetings all start again this month, and so we will have more to report. We're all going to, not all of us, but some of us are going to the League of Cities annual conference, and we will hopefully glean some good information to bring back and report on that at our next meeting.
Okay, my turn. First of all, we have the alum treatment coming September 17th to 21st. We're all ready to go with that. Even with the new water that is going to be coming in, it's not going to affect enough of the dosage for that to change. We've had a very strange water summer. We had a brown algae that hung out for most of our summer. Water looked pretty nasty, but it was, it was just hanging out there. Good news, bad news, I guess. Having a nasty brown algae hanging out in the water kept the green algae from getting enough direct sunlight to doing its own thing. So now I've had some wonderful reports, and I was out on the water too. A bottle of water looks like this. that you take from the lake. So it really has cleared up. The alum will help again. This will be our 8th alum treatment. Information will be in all the usual places. It'll be listed in the Friday Flyer also, and we'll have it up on the website so that you know where to go to get, you can actually even go and watch the progress as it's being sprayed. And all of you out there who have a tendency to doubt whether they actually hit your dogs, they do hit your dogs. They're just all so good at what they do that you don't see them. You can step inside for a cup of coffee and they're gone before you come out. So they will be doing that. Veterans Day, we're gearing up for our celebration. We are having regular meetings now. Anybody who wants to be part of that celebration, this is the 10th year for it, and so we're really pushing and take lots of volunteers. Just let me know. Animal Friends, thank you again for being here and starting this process, and thank you again for everything that you did during all of those evacuations. Please come back in October. In October, our meeting is going to focus on, we focused on our local heroes this time, our first responders in the area. We're broadening that. We wanted to separate it because and our local heroes will be there again. But for the fires that we've had, the Holy Gym fire, and then last weekend we had the Hill fire, and the response was incredibly fast and so well orchestrated. And we owe such a debt to people like Frank Opp, who kept his restaurant open for so long, helping the firefighters and Animal Friends and people who put together blankets and supplies. And we want to say thank you to all of them, and that's what we're dedicating October to. So anybody out there listening, we want to fill the room to show these people. And I think that's all I had. We are gearing up for the UUT. We'll be having several workshops. The first one is tomorrow evening at Chamber of Commerce, and then it'll go from there. And other venues will be having them. Just informational. Yeah, they're just informational. There's no, it's not really exciting. It's just telling you all the information that is already going to be up on the website, so you can look there too. And with that, we'll close the meeting at 8:10. Thank you very much.
Thank you.